way to explain it. And this period of time, so where we are now, I think is very pivotal, because we're really leaving the phase that we were just in, which was kind of the emergency, how do we deal with all this phase, to now more of the continuity of your business and how do we continue. And just sidebar, I think it kind of speaks to maybe the duration of this event. So New Hampshire, for example, extended its emergency order until the middle of May. And the stay-home order in New Hampshire is due to expire next Monday, and I suspect that's going to get extended. And I think what that speaks to is that you've got a lot of conversation now with the various states, and the governors are talking about how to have a phased reopening. And from the very beginning of this event, although not having any experience with it, it never really felt to us like on some particular date, all of a sudden we're going to flip a switch and everything was going to be okay. And it's certainly coming out that way. And for us as practitioners, I think it's important to understand that we have been listed as an essential business because of the level of guidance that we need to be providing to our clients, during a time when they're, seeking new housing, new shelter, really. And as we start to move through the different phases of this event, you're going to get more and more consumers that are going to need more and more of our guidance as people start to become more comfortable. And I think as this event develops, let me phrase it this way, as this event develops, as opposed to an on-off, right, where, okay, well, it's May 4th and that's it, that's New Hampshire. And then everything's, I think it was kind of initially, whether it was said or unsaid, the feeling was, well, May 4th, everything will be fine. And clearly now we all know that's not the case, that this is going to be in a phased series of events. The good news is that we're set up for this now. You're set up where we have all the protocols, and we're fully capable of operating effectively, safely in this environment, where that you're able to provide that really critical guidance to your clients in this period of time. And so we're leaving what I'm going to call the emergency phase, this last 8 weeks, and now we're moving into the continuity of business phase. So it's a continuity of your business and continuity of how you're interacting and providing guidance, continued guidance through the rest of this process with your buyers and sellers. And we're going to hear a lot about phased openings. Every state's going to be different. Every state will be impacted differently, and so there won't be kind of a cookie cutter way in which this comes about. And so I want to make sure that we understand that as we continue to have our Monday and Thursday calls, which we will do, is that these are all about the continuity of your business, and that this is basically about providing market data, which we're going to do today, tips, ways to stay engaged. Everybody has a different comfort level around this event. There's no right or wrong to it. It's all simply a matter of what you're comfortable with. There are things you can do, though, that are tempered with your comfort level for being able to maintain your business. I think very early on, we talked about the fact that it would be not easy, if not just flat out impossible, to wait this out. And I think we've now come to fully understand that although maybe originally, we were thinking it's going to be hard to wait this out. Well, now we know for sure you can't wait this out, because this is going to go on for a while, like I said, phased development. So name it. That's where we are, and that's where these meetings are going to be really critical, because it's going to be about really discussing in detail and providing tips and direction about how we maintain continuity of business through this phased time that we're in. And today, Ed and Angela are going to have a market data review, because right now we want to, Ed and Angela and some of the sales directors are going to walk everybody through market data number of listings taken, things like that. It's going to be really important that we understand where we are with the inventory, with certain sales data. It could be sales prices, whatever the appropriate data is that in the moment. But we really understand what's going on with the market, because we're going to be going into different types of markets that we've never really seen before, just because of the nature of this event, and that consumers will be continually engaging as they become more comfortable. So understanding, having real lifetime data interpretation is going to be really critical, not only for you, but also for the advice that you give your buyers and sellers. So I want to make sure that we understand the importance of these calls going forward. And then lastly, Lorraine's just going to do a little bit about social media and about how critical that is right now. We've always talked about social media as being critical, but it's super critical now because people are home more. And this is such a great way to get in touch with people and stay connected, which again, all goes to the continuity of your business. So before I turn this over to Ed and Angela, one thing I want to just put a plug in for. So we have set up our Mass Yellow Care pages on New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont's food banks. And we've funded, I know I've personally went in and funded this weekend, and then the company did as well. And I want to really encourage everyone to, if it's only $10 or $5, whatever it is, please make a contribution. For every $1, I believe they get out between 1 and 2 meals. And the food banks to do an amazing job. Now, here's why it's so important over and above why it would normally be important. The employment situation is going to continue to be sketchy for a while, and there are going to be a lot more people in need. The food banks are not able to do the fundraising that they used to do because of the social distancing, and they're also not able to have the volunteer participation that they used to have, again, because of social distancing. So they're really in pretty tough shape. And as the summer goes along, and as benefits burn off, right, unemployment benefits start to burn off, these food banks are going to be in more and more demand, and the pressure is going to be greater. So the more we can do now to help them out, it will really pay off in dividends for the people who are really going to need it in the coming months. Okay, so I know I can count on everyone. You don't have to give much, but if everyone gives a little bit, then we'll reach our goal. Okay, so that's it for me. I'll see you guys at the end for a close, and I will turn this over to Ed and Angela.
Well, thank you, Chris. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. It is afternoon. So just a couple of thoughts before I hand it off to Angela, and you're going to see some really interesting stuff today. I get really excited when I see a challenge, and I clearly understand the challenge and also see a pathway through that challenge. And that's kind of where we are today. So I just wanted to reiterate that what your role is right now as an essential part of our economy and in our people's, our sphere's lives. Your role really is to understand what's going on and to be able to teach and guide your people through this current situation. And really what's going on, you're going to see from the numbers that essentially we are in a winter inventory situation with a summer demand. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen ever in my entire career. I've never before seen a listing inventory that was more like a January, February listing inventory with so many buyers just, knocking on the doors trying to get things under agreement. So that presents some opportunities for our spheres. And so your role really, when you think about it, I think it's okay to say to people, you're willing to pay me a lot of money for what I see and hear. And let me tell you what I see and hear. And then walk them through what's going on in the marketplace, what the opportunity is for them, and to see if there's a pathway for them that they're comfortable with. I think that if you understand your role that way, you can really help the people around you and be part of what is your role as an essential part of this current economy and current market situation. So what you're going to see, I'll hand it off to Angela. What you're going to see will be sort of very high level numbers statewide. And remember that statistics, you can drill down right to neighborhoods. So the main thing though is to understand what's going on sort of globally. And then through the week, your sales directors will be going over with you how to derive the numbers and how to interpret the numbers for any particular marketplaces that you might be in. So I know Angela is super excited because there's some really good panelists here, and I'll let her take it from here. Angela?
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate that. Hi, I'm going to have with me today Susan Moore. Susan is our regional sales director of what we call the Portland region. She's currently in the Gorham office. We're going to have Heather McAfee, who is the sales director in our Tilton office, and we're going to have Nancy Walsh, who is the regional sales director in she's in our Bedford office today. So I'm going to start out. We're going to work it east to west, ladies. So I'm going to start with Susan. So Susan, could you unmute and join me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you and see you. Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Thanks for joining us today. Can you start us out? I know you've come up with some slides for us on the main numbers and what you've got. Specifically some of those cool data points. I love looking at the slides.
Yeah.
So tell us what you've got
See
here.
if I can full screen that. Okay. So these are our Flex MLS numbers. These numbers are statewide. I would absolutely advise everyone to know the statewide numbers, but I would ask you to also go in and play with the settings so that you can customize your conversation with any given seller to a more micro market. You know, what are the numbers in that price band? What are the numbers in that specific area? But these are the statewide numbers. So if you will notice, can you guys see my cursor?
We can.
Yes, okay. So March of 19 is right here. We were about 5, not quite 6,000 listings. March of 20, we're not quite 4.
Okay.
So that's a pretty big difference. This is the number not in graph form, but it's the same numbers. If you look at the number of months inventory we have, we're down about 19%. There are 1,431 missing listings compared to what we had last year. So can sellers get a premium price? Absolutely. We were low inventory last year, and we're 20% below that this year. Days on market, if you're looking at sold units and days on market, again, this is last year, 19. And over here to 20, there is a pretty big difference. Days on market went down by about 14%. So if you're a seller and you want to know how long is this going to take, how bad is it going to be, you know, how long are people going to be in and out of my house, we're down significantly for last year. I'm in the Cumberland County market, and those numbers are even smaller. We're down even more. The days on market are even less in that specific market. Average prices and volume, March of 19 is right here. And we're not quite at March of 20 is right here. So prices,
Right.
it only makes sense if inventory and days on market are going down, what's happening to prices?
Right.
They're going up because buyers are having to be competitive.
Love that.
And so we are seeing that as well. And those are the numbers for, oh, sorry, this is also list to sell ratio. We had a conversation in my office, I think last week. We have occasionally have buyers who are saying, wow, with everything that's going on in this market, I should be able to make a very low offer. Our list to sell ratio is going up. The low point for the last 12 months was 96.3%, and we are currently at 97.1. So if you have a buyer who's saying, you know, let's offer $25,000 under, unless you've got a madly overpriced listing, that's just not going to fly. And this is the data that you need to be able to show them that you're not making that up. Like that's a real thing. And I think, yeah, these are the Cumberland County numbers.
Super. Thank you so much for sharing those with us, Susan. I mean, that's a huge difference right there. And I love the 97.1. So one of the things someone asked is, where is she getting these numbers from? These numbers are coming from the main MLS. Susan has slides, screenshots that can show you how to do that on a step-by-step basis. And she's going to forward those off to Lorraine, who can get them out in the bulletin for you all tonight. So for those looking how to do this, I would also say go to your sales director, right? Your sales director in Maine definitely knows how to do that for you and can help you with this and can help you drill down to specifically where you need to get to. Susan, what one thing would you be saying to your agents? Go do this.
If you have buyers, this is something that I talked to one of my agents about this morning, and she happened to say to me, I'm drowning in buyers. Like, I don't know if I necessarily want them all, but I'm drowning in them. And so if you have buyers, use those to get listings. Send circle marketing letters, send letters to specific neighborhoods and say, hey, I've got buyers looking in your neighborhood and we can't find any listings. Have you thought about listing, but maybe you're nervous about how the coronavirus is affecting things? And then send them some statistics. Send them our ready, set, sell information so they know they'll be safe from COVID-19, and see what you get back.
Cool. Susan, thank you so much for that. Also, the other question we're getting, are you seeing appraisals coming in to support the list prices?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Are you seeing appraisals coming in to support the list prices?
I have not had an appraisal issue in probably 6 months. I think it's maybe a little early to say with what's going on since the COVID-19 crisis, but there's no statistical basis that I can see for appraisals going down.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Susan. We are gonna, we may come back to you, but we're gonna go over to Heather next. Heather, are you available to join me?
I am.
Super, thanks so much. Good to see your smiling face.
Can I just step on to something that Susan just said? And I noticed someone else mentioned in the chat a question about an appraisal. I can tell you that when this all kind of started, we did have a couple of issues with appraisals coming where the lender or the investor was nervous and said, listen, we're not ready to do this. We want to kick this out 2 or 3 weeks and re-review. So I have seen a few of those coming around. In the end, everything has kind of come together through that. But again, it'll be something we're going to, as the market starts to fluctuate a little bit with us still, we'll see differences on.
Super. Thank you. I'm not sure. Do you have a slideshow that you would like to share with us, or do you just want to give us your statistics? Because I know you have some.
That is not my strong suit.
That's okay. So
but I can tell you that there's, so in New Hampshire, NHAR has a great document. If you go into NHAR, sign in, nhar.org, go to resources, you can pull up the market data reports. They do monthly and they do a quarterly one. It'll give you the statewide, it'll give you the counties and everything. So that's a perfect document to be able to use. I use it in my sales meetings. Every quarter we go over this. And in the MLS, you can go into resources and go to statistical reporting, and you can pull it up through whatever time frame you want. So those are the easy breaches there. One of the cool things that I guess that I'd like to go over is that in the first quarter for us, our numbers were looking fantastic in New Hampshire. We were up almost across the board everywhere. Just a couple of northern counties were a little lower. So I think that was all positive. We were seeing good growth. We were seeing more listings coming on the market, and sales prices have been increasing tremendously. Everything kind of shifted, and we had a big change in April, as everybody knows. So I think that's important to be able to have that conversation with your sellers and buyers. Again, we talk about it all the time. It's not an economically driven change point. It's the pandemic driving it. So we had a strong economy coming into it. That being said, we are seeing, less listing inventory year over year from 2019 to 2020. We're down about 22% in the state of New Hampshire, and that totals about 2,700 listings. So
wow.
if we're looking, that's a pretty big number. I mean, if you average that, that's 700 listings a month across the state. So that, if I was going to say to everyone, that leads us to be pretty hungry listing agents, right? So we've got to be at the top of our game, and you have got to know these numbers because you have to be able to talk educated and intelligently with your customers and clients on this matter. We're looking at sold listings. We're down about 523 listings. And I'm talking from January 1 to April 27th. So we're just talking in this one period of window that we're looking at. So we're down about 10% in our sold listing inventory. And if you look at the statistics, our listing inventory should have been about 15 to 1,700 units, and it's about 1,000, 1,100. So really, if you're looking at that and you're talking to your buyers and sellers, we're short 523 listings into that time frame for selling, but we didn't have it to sell. So this isn't that buyers weren't coming to buy. We didn't have the inventory for our backlog of buyers. I read an article recently that said that we had about a 2-year inventory of buyers in our backlog. That's huge.
It is huge.
You know, if we're talking about that and we look at our days on market here are running about 66 days on average. That's from list to close. So if we're talking about in April where we had a period of time where some of our closings are extended 2 to 3 weeks, that means we're under contract in under a week on almost everything that went under contract and closed. Those are crazy numbers. We're looking at an increase of our average sale price by upwards of $18,000. In 2019, our average sale price was about $297,000, and in 2020, we're at $315,000. And that's just in this one window of January 1 to April 27th.
What a great time to be a seller, right?
Right? Yeah. And I mean, if we're looking year over year, so all of 2019 to all of 2020, it's an 11% increase across the state. That's great. I mean, who doesn't want to be in on those kind of numbers?
Right. Right.
Our list to price ratio across the board right now in this particular time frame in 2019 was about 97%. We're at 98.45 right now. So, and we know we have so many things that are coming in over asking. So we're seeing some price reductions. Most of it's in that upper window, 600,000 to 800,000 window. Most of the things going over asking are, 200 to 389 or so.
Heather, sight unseen and multiple offers in your area?
I know we're still seeing a lot of sight unseen. I haven't had, a lot of multiple offers on almost everything. I have not had a sight unseen in my office, but I know other agents who have and in other offices. So we are seeing it across the board, I think, unanimously. So those are all kind of coming around the bend. It's kind of wild. It's a great market. I would say if you're a newer agent or someone kind of struggling, I preach this to my agents all the time. Look at the condo market. What better way to become an expert of easily 100, 150, 200 units? And that condo market is booming. Right now, the list to sale is about 98.6. They're looking at roughly 70% of that inventory is closing. That comes on the market, and they're up 98.86% in their sales ratios.
Great numbers. Oh my goodness.
So we've all got condos in our markets, and it's a great place to kind of kick in, and plus it's affordable housing in the grand scheme.
Buyer stuff, right? And a great place to put someone who wants to downsize so you can sell their house. Thank you so much, Heather. I
You're welcome.
appreciate all that. Great tips. Thank you so much. Nancy Walsh, are you available?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you and see you. Wonderful. Thanks. So Nancy has been killing it out there, guys. And her area is pretty booming. So Nancy, you've got some great tips and suggestions for us on how to go out and get some listings, correct?
Well, I have to be honest with you. After listening to Heather's stats and Susan, I can't imagine one of our agents going on a listing appointment with that kind of data and not being able to get the listing.
Right.
It's clear that if you're a seller, you should get on the market now, not in 3 months. And I think once you speak with the seller and you guide them through the process as to how you're going to safely show their home, they are all in. And it's going to take you a lot more work to sell a house in this market than it used to, because you always need to be at their property to, in my opinion anyway, because In the beginning, I was finding buyer agents would show up after I already communicated with them, you're gonna need a mask and you're gonna need gloves and take your shoes off. And they're like, oh, yeah, thinking I've already told them it's assisted. They show up, they have nothing. So when when sellers see that also, they want their home protected. It's just that simple, that if you can't convince them, I can do this safely for your property, they're probably not gonna come on the market. The other thing is the houses that I was going to list in January for the spring market, when they were calling me, they were shocked to hear that there was activity. So when I went to their homes, ironically, I had a mask and they didn't, which I found interesting.
Hmm.
So concerned about this, remember?
Right?
But I brought them the office pending sheet with all our pendings. I brought the office listings, all the listings, and all the coming soon. And they kind of looked at me like, I cannot believe all these people are listing their home. So I would recommend to agents, bring your own also pendings, listings coming soon along with the office. And with the data that you're getting today from Heather and Susan, and then your personal office data, how is a seller not coming on the market? They absolutely are coming on.
That's awesome. You had a great story when we were talking earlier today about your for sale by owner. You want to tell us about that?
So there was a gentleman that was going to be a for sale by owner. And when I started to talk to him about the new way to list property and being virtual and the social media part and how was he going to do all these things and communicating with title companies and how they actually close now, he was so concerned that he really didn't have a handle on it, that instead of being a for sale by owner, he listed with me.
That's wonderful. People just need so much guidance right now, don't they? Are you finding that? They're just hungry for guidance.
And they're shocked to see the activity. Once they see these numbers in front of them, they're like, well, I'm getting on now because I don't want to wait, for 2 or 3 more months when everyone else comes on. And look at the shortage of inventory we have. If you price it right, you're probably only going to have showings for a day or 2. Get top dollar. You're going to convince them that you're going to manage the home inspection with regards to who's coming and who's wearing what. Most appraisals here are drive-by, and it's really been seamless as long as you're with the, I explained, the right company with the guidance that we have to do this. It's not hard to do.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nancy. Any last word that you'd like to give? Super tip, just here's how, go out and get that listing.
If I had some health concerns, right, and I wasn't willing to go to people's homes, I would at least get the market analysis done through Toolkit and email to them. That's going to get their attention. And then start scanning to them the process of how you're going to sell their house. You can always have someone else in the office help you, work out a referral fee if you're not comfortable leaving your home. But the
Right.
last one thing I want to say is your database right now, there is so much information, helpful information you can be giving these people that there's no doubt they're going to list with you just from the communication you had with them during this time. And I believe going forward, we're going to continue to wear masks. I'm talking 3 months down the road, maybe. We're going to continue to be on the safety side of this. So I would recommend finding a way to deal with your database, stay in communication, and ask your sales directors if you're not comfortable leaving your home, how we can help you get that listing without you actually leaving your house.
I love that. I love some of the things you picked up on there. And I think that's so true because right now we want to protect our income for the future, right? And if
Yep.
we're not looking to leave our house, there's somebody in your office that you can buddy up with right now, right? That will go out
Absolutely.
and do some of those things and help you. We don't want to lose those listings, and you don't want to lose those listings, but those relationships that you've developed over those years, right? You put a lot of
Absolutely.
hard work in those. So
For sure.
super. Thank you so much for your tips. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Let's see what we've got for questions. Are they putting their houses on the market before finding somewhere new to live? This is what's keeping my seller from putting their homes on the market right now. They're worried about finding something to purchase in the same area and fast enough. Can you speak to that a little bit, Nancy?
So a lot of mine had the exact same fears. So we used to not like to write the language seller to, suitable housing, right? Subject to suitable housing. but everybody's doing it. So it's not a negative now. So I always say to my clients, we're going to put this in, we're going to go look for a house. And if it doesn't work out, you're not going to be out on the street. You're going to be back in your house. And then when you get that buyer agent who's saying, well, how long do you need to find a house? You've got to work those skills into, instead of saying, well, they haven't found anything or whatever, you've got to lead her to believe that you're actively showing them property on a daily basis. Give me 3 weeks to write a purchase and sale. And a lot of times they say yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you again. I appreciate it. Another thing I'd just like to cover with you guys and remind you, all of our sales directors have been working with the stats for quite a while now. They know what to do. They know how to find it. And what you want are numbers that are going to be really specific and really local to your market and local to what you're trying to list, right? Are you trying to target a certain neighborhood or a certain town? Okay. So if you're looking for this information, please go to your sales directors. They're going to be talking about this throughout the week. In their sales meetings, you're going to see a lot of information coming at you this way. So they're there to help you with this specifically right now. And that is what I have, and I'm going to turn it over to Lorraine.
Thank you, Angela. I actually did have a few things about social media, but this content was so great, and I'm assuming that everybody's really energized and wants to get back and get working on this. And I'm going to go ahead and table our social media discussion for a future call. But I will just say that, you know, everything that we have available is to kind of support these efforts and to supplement. But you know, really it's your expertise and your knowledge is what is so important to get out there. I mean, we can create some graphics as little teasers, and which is what we do, and that's the kind of thing that we'll be talking about on our next call. But those are really only meant to be feeders. It's really meant for you to add your personal spin, your expertise. You know, really it's about getting your knowledge out to your sphere. So I'm going to hold my piece for later. And so the only thing I would like to just reiterate kind of touches back on what Chris mentioned earlier was about the food drives. If there's nothing else that you want to share on social media right now, that is a great way for you to show your support of your local community, to encourage community involvement, and it's a way to reach out to your sphere without being salesy too. So if there's somebody that you know just isn't in the market right now, but you want to keep in touch with them, this is a great way to show that you care about what's happening in the community, and there is such a need right now. So again, we have the graphics to help you, but really your personal story on that is where it's at. And then Chris, I think you wanted to close out with a couple of comments.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. It was great information, Nancy, Heather, and Susan. So yeah, just a couple things real quick, and then we'll go. We'll put together, I made some notes. We'll see if we put together a narrative about the market with some supporting data that would be more of a template, like Ed was saying in the chat, and a template that we can update. Now, it will be macro, it won't be micro. So it will only talk about markets by state. And like Ed said, the sales directors can really help you drill down into certain neighborhoods or communities, towns, and things like that. So we'll get that in production. But as far as a narrative goes, so a couple points. One, because of the thin nature of the inventory, there is no COVID or virus discount on inventory. Okay, that's like super critical. But the other part about it is, because there isn't, you know, a situational discount because of the circumstances and the lack of inventory, pricing is pretty firm. However, the flip side of that, which again is so unique, we've really rarely seen things like this, these dynamics living together, is that because rates are low, actually affordability has gone up. So in this kind of odd way, there's really parity where you've got firm pricing but increasing affordability because rates are so affordable. So we'll put that into a narrative and get that out to everybody, something that we can update on a regular basis. So this was really great feedback. Really appreciate it. Other than make sure you guys are safety first. Make sure you keep yourselves healthy. Please remember the food banks. I believe that these will be ongoing charities that we're going to support, because the need will go, well beyond this event, as always, but even more so because of the impact of this event's happening. So really good to be with everybody. I look forward to seeing everybody on Thursday. We'll be doing social media, and you know what? Maybe we'll try to have a template ready for everybody to look at on Thursday about market conditions. Okay. So good to be with everybody. Take care.